But one of the biggest challenges that I had was in that first build I did. I was talking about that virtual performing academy that I created. So one of the things after I showed it off to everybody and said, "Surprise, we have a new world," or a second world at that point. We didn't have a second world. Um, then I solicited all of our staff's feedback. What do you guys want in here? What do you want me to change? What do you want me to add? And one of the first things Djembe said was,
Hello, welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion. There's no Raptor today, but we are here joined by an aide and friend.
Hello, I'm here now. Hi.
Ooh, and we are joined also by our special guest. Who are you?
Hello.
Oh, well, I'll ask this then. What is your name? What are you known for? How'd you get started? What got you into Vrchat?
Okay, well, I'm DjembeDragon, and I actually started in Vrchat when the first Oculus came out, which was like 2016 or 17, I don't remember. Long time ago, and I just thought, this is silly. What is this place? And everybody was running around being like, silly. And so I thought it was nothing important, and I just kind of blew it off. And then I've been singing in Second Life for years, and someone said you should try Vrchat again, and I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I went back, and then I learned how people really worked together and did all these great things in Discord and had all these groups, and I was like, wow, this is all so hidden. It's so secret, It's like unless you really know, and now this is changing, by the way, which I'm very excited about. But in the past, unless you really knew somebody who was in music, for instance, you didn't know anything was going on in here. Nothing. And the only way you could find out was joining a Discord server, which at the time, I mean, I was hardly in any Discord servers. I didn't really realize that's the way people communicated for these groups and stuff. So it was just a big culture shock for me. And I was like, this has been here all this time? I had no idea. So I jumped in and got involved. Now, I had been doing virtual performing in another platform, a totally different platform, and started it there. And I had a little bit of a budget, and so I was paying musicians to come and perform and stuff. But that didn't work out because they just had different priorities. So I was like, okay, well, let me go see what I can do in Vrchat. So I built my first world in Vrchat and learned how to do everything here. And it took a little while to get it off the ground, but eventually we did. And I was able to pay the musicians with, I was using my own money at the time, but I wanted to develop a group and a Discord server, etc. And so I did. And then I found other groups doing things and got involved with them. And yeah, and so mostly I do my own performing. I mostly just do open mics because I have a lot of anxiety and stuff. So I do performances in Second Life, but not so much in Vrchat. It's just I'm more of I like to oversee the whole program and be in the background because I get really anxious, believe it or not. And but anyway, so I tried to do this and build this whole thing in here so that I could pay musicians. So when the musicians come and perform here, for instance, at this theater, I try to make the experience as much as like a real theater would be for both the audience and the performer. So when the performer's on stage, it feels like a real experience, like a real life experience. So we do have, VR effects and we have things that you can't really do in real life, but we still try to maintain this sort of integrity of a concert. So we start all the concerts with the, lights dimming and the call to the theater. We do all that kind of stuff. And then we have a curtain that rises and, we try to make it. Oh, and then we have staff. We have volunteers that are the backstage crew. And that was important to me too. I wanted the backstage crew to have the same realistic experience of running a theater while we're putting on a show. So all the shows are done manually. Everything you see that happens on stage is controlled by one of our staff members. And we try to do it as realistically as possible. We have a communication system from backstage to the control room and backstage to the green room for the artists, and we call them out. I mean, everything's done in a procedural fashion so that they can all experience it. And then we also take tips during the show, which we split between the artist and the staff, because I try to pay the staff too, but so far we haven't gotten to that level where we can really do it. But we do have enough Patreon people that we can pay artists twice a month. So we usually pay them $50 twice a month. We do a show. And it's a way for us to give back to the musicians in Vrchat, which the musicians really, I mean, it's like they're doing something for the community. They're performing. They're giving back their talents and their skills. And so it's important to me that they are recognized for that. So that's kind of partly what we do too.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me 1 second. I got a ping. Oh, he's just okay. I don't know if he's coming.
Ooh.
Let me ask him. Well, so that's a little bit of the background.
Okay.
You can ask me some stuff now, I guess.
I do have a question for you as well. What started virtual performing in, I think, it sounds like Second Life? And how is things run in Second Life for the virtual performing different from Vrchat, or are there similarities between the two platforms?
Good question. Well, in Second Life, there is really no virtual performing. In Second Life, I only perform. I only sing in different venues there. And it's a 2D game. It's not a VR game. But virtual performing, I started in another platform. It was called Somnium Space. And it was crypto-based, and that's why they had money. They could spend money like crazy. But I didn't care for the crypto and all of that backstabbing stuff. It was very, very, I don't know, it felt like a con artist kind of situation going on there. So I just didn't like it. But yeah, they did pay, and I built a world for it, and I had performers that we'd hire and bring in and stuff like that. But it was unfortunately not, much different than Vrchat. Everything was paid. You had to pay for everything, and very expensive too. So I didn't care for that. But that's where I started it, and it was very successful there. It was the main thing that was happening in that platform. But I moved it to Vrchat, and it didn't start right away because I had to understand how it worked. I mean, with the Discord groups and all that stuff, I had to discover where there was other things happening, who else was doing groups like this, where could I advertise, all of that stuff took a long time. So I started small. I had a very small little venue. It was more of a casual open stage kind of a situation. But we did do some shows there. I did my own shows there a couple times. Funny story, my parents actually, I bought them VR headsets one year, and they came in and watched a show in Vrchat, and they're like in their 80s, just so you know, which is crazy.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
How did they
Anyway.
take the whole experience, man? Sorry to...
No, you're good. Yeah, they were really kind of like, wow, this is wild. And, they didn't understand a lot of what was happening because, technology. But once they got into the room and were able to sit and watch the show, then it was like, wow, this is so cool. It's like real. And they were making comments like, oh, that banana was talking to me. He was really nice because they were seeing fallbacks. It was so funny. Anyway, so that was their little experience with it. But anyway, then we grew from there. We would have about 20, 30 people on a regular basis when I did the shows. And so I expanded it and started to find talent. I would go around to different open mics and meet people and figure out, hey, you're a really good performer. I'd love to have you and feature you and all this kind of stuff. And people didn't understand it at first because most people weren't doing that. Most people were either going to open mics. There were a few places that would have artists come for like a half an hour and do something here and there, but it was mostly kind of just like open mic casual, and there was no theater that was having sit down concerts that was real legit. So that's how I started to develop it. And yeah, I hope that answers the
Oh,
question. What else did you want to know?
well, yeah, you've answered everything. So actually, you said you started in Somnium Space. What made you want to start virtual performing in Somnium Space?
Yeah, good question. Well, I came there originally. I had a little extra money, and I was like, this looks like a good investment. Maybe I can make some money. So I started in there, and then I found out there was absolutely nothing going on. There was no social activities, no nothing. They had I think a DJ on the weekends for a couple hours, and that was it. So I was like, well, you know, can you perform in here? And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I want to sing. So I did a show for them, and they were all like, holy cow, this is cool. So we decided to grow on that, and then they started this creator grant money that you could become a creator in the platform. They were trying to get more social activities going on and whatnot, so I applied for it. And that's how it started. But I mean, it's always been a dream of mine to perform in VR and to have a theater. And, so it was long before that I thought about it, but I just didn't know how to go about doing it. But then it just started to evolve, and then I moved it here. So,
So
I have a question.
ask.
hmm
Yeah, so I have a small question. You mentioned that you try to like pay your staff and you guys split the cash and you get performers to come on and stuff like that, right? But I just wanted to know, how do you source your performers? Do you like get them from advertising, or do they come to you and say, "Hey, I heard you have a theater. I really want to perform there." Like how do you get your performers to come in and perform on schedule and stuff like that in your massive gigantic theater?
Well, it started to grow gradually. So at first we were only doing once a month. Um, and primarily it was me. I was the only one. There was no other staff. So I would go around to the open mics and I would just start listening. And when I found somebody that I was like, wow, that's beautiful, that's wonderful, then I would introduce myself, tell them what I was trying to do, and show them the theater, and then they would get excited. And I said, yeah, and I'll even pay you. So that's how it started. I mean, originally we were only doing $25, and it was just my money, so I only did it once a month. But then I got a couple sponsors that were really into it. They loved this concept. So they started to donate on Patreon, and that caused me to have enough money to do 2 shows a month and to pay $50. And I don't take any of the money. None of the money goes to me. It all goes back to the performers and staff if we get tips. And that's important to me too. I see a lot of people make so much money in here, especially off of Twitch and stuff like that, which is way beyond my comprehension. And I don't really want to do that. It's not, for me, it's not a monetary goal. The monetary goal is to be able to pay the people involved that do this, that enjoy doing it.
So what made you want to start paying the performers to begin with? Because that's, at least from a lot of places I've experienced, it's a very novel concept. At least to me, it seems anyway.
Well, I've been in, like I said, Second Life for many years singing, and they pay the performers there as well. They use game currency, much different than here. I mean, long before the game currency, I started Vrchat, so everything had to be external. Still kind of does. I mean, it's still, the currency here is still kind of weird. But in Second Life, they have a game currency. You just buy it and then you spend it however you want to spend it. It doesn't matter. You can give it to your friends. You can do whatever. So you can tip people, which is really convenient. And all you have to do is click a button and it brings up a menu and you say, this is how much game currency I want to tip. Boom, done. And they get a tip. And it's just really convenient. I wish that we would get that here. And maybe we will, but it hasn't happened yet. But then in Second Life, they also had venues venues that were upscale and they wanted the best of the best all the time, so they would pay. And they pay typically $15 to $20 for the hour. But then you get at least $15 to $20 in tips. So it ends up being close to $50.
Oh, wow.
Maybe not quite, but between 25 and 30, 50, something like that. Depends on the event. Some events are bigger, some are smaller. So, but that's how, I mean, I've always been paid there, and I felt, well, musicians deserve to be paid too. I mean, a lot of musicians spend their entire lives crafting their ability and their talents and go to college and spend thousands of dollars just like a doctor does. You don't see a doctor coming in Vrchat and being a free doctor to everybody in Vrchat, right? I mean, they don't give that away, and so I feel it's kind of like, well, they deserve it, they've worked all their lives to be this good. So, why shouldn't they be paid something for that? Just like people who do their Twitch streams and all this other stuff, they're content creators. They're making this for other people to enjoy, and they should be paid for it. Creators make worlds. Should they give them all away free? Everybody, every single one? I mean, there's different levels, obviously. Some people have different skill sets, and so they can make their worlds better, or they can do different things. They deserve to be paid for it. Scripters, same thing. So that's the way my personal philosophy is about it.
Okay.
Certainly, that is a narrow field, just like anything. I mean, if I make a Minecraft world that's really ugly, I wouldn't expect someone to want to buy it. But, if you try to find the best of the best and you feature them, it's both beneficial to the performer and to the audience. The audience gets to come and have that experience. I've had some people on stage that were mind-blowing. I mean, they just really were good. And, people enjoyed the concert. They talked about it afterwards. There were pictures all over, and people were shocked that they came to a concert and sat and listened to a performer for an hour. I've gone to events here before where they have multiple singers all day long, 24 hours, and then they do it all weekend. I mean, they have these 15 minutes of this person, this person, this person, this person, this, right? And I've even performed at some of those and had my little 15 minutes. But nobody was paying attention. The whole entire event, everybody was talking to each other, socializing. So it wasn't really a performance event. It was a social event. It was an opportunity for people to meet other people, pretty much. And they just talked. And it felt kind of like, well, no one's listening to me. Why am I doing this, So I felt like I wanted to make this as realistic as possible. You wouldn't go, for instance, to a symphony orchestra concert in real life and sit there with a cocktail and talk to your neighbor and ignore the people on stage. That just wouldn't happen in real life. They'd kick you out pretty much, or go to a movie and talk on your cell phone through the whole movie. Who would do that, right? So anyway, that's the whole background and concept of why I wanted to do it this way. And it doesn't attract everyone. I mean, there's a lot of people who are, not into sitting there for an hour. They have to talk. They have to be in a social environment. They can't stand it, and that's okay. But we're trying to reach the people that do enjoy that and want to come and enjoy a concert and feel like they're in a real theater, and that's the whole idea.
So I have another question as well, since it sounds like you've performed in 3 different and been involved with 3 different platforms. As a performer and maybe even as a venue, what is the difference between each of the platforms, and how do people interact with you, the person running the show, as well with each? Is there any difference between the different platforms?
Oh yes, big time, big time. So Somnium Space was a concept platform more than it was really functional, and it had a very small, limited base of people, and they did not have great technology integrated yet. And I didn't know VRChat had this capability yet. because like I said, I was in it very early on, and then I stopped going, and then I never really went back. But Somnium was 4 years ago, I think, or 5 years ago. Forget. And their voice was terrible. And so when you performed, it was just breaking up all the time. Sometimes you'd crash and all this stuff. It was really, really rough. But we would make it work. So there wasn't really super great. Now, Second Life has been around for 20 plus years, I think. I don't know, a long time. And they've really improved everything. And we don't actually sing on voice in Second Life. We sing on a stream, a radio stream, kind of like VRCDN, only with no video, but it's a longer delay. I think the delay is about 7 seconds minimum, and it can go as long as a minute. So we perform on a radio stream, which is higher quality, and and the avatars are not, they're just robots, they just are animated puppets basically. So it's not a big deal per se, because you're not really there on stage, you're not really moving your hands and whatever. So when a song is over, I say, oh, thank you for your applause, and 7 seconds later I see the applause gestures in the text chat, because that's how it works there. Everything's in text, so it's kind of weird in that sense, but there's a big huge following. There's a big huge following for live music there, so they really enjoy going to those concerts. Now in Vrchat, totally different story. Very similar to Somnium in terms of the presence, but singing on voice in Vrchat has been a dream. I mean, it's been amazing to me, because there you're actually part of the performance. You're not a puppet anymore. Now it's me, right? It's alive, and there's instant feedback. So when you guys say wow, it's instant, and I don't have to wait 7 seconds to hear it. It's kind of much more realistic, and so that's what I appreciate about it so much.
I have a question.
Yes.
So earlier you mentioned that in virtual performing you guys do theater, and you also mentioned a little bit about open mic. So how many different events do you host within your community of virtual performing? How many tiers or categories of events do you have? Doesn't matter if they're live streamed or not live streamed. Like, what is the whole collection of all the stuff that you do under this community in Vrchat or other platforms?
Well, so far, we've mainly focused on the 1-hour performances twice a month, and that's been the farthest we've gone with it. Now we're trying to grow, and we have a staff of about 4 or 5, but we're looking for more help, because we want people that can handle Discord and get that more active, because it's kind of quiet. We'd like more people to understand what this is all about, and reach out to other performers that are super really talented, that are trying to promote themselves or whatever. We do our live stream, but it's just the concert series. Now we did try at one point to have a theater person, like for drama, but they got kind of, real life got in the way, and so it kind of just messed it up. But we would like to have that. I want to have dance performers. I want to have theater. I want to have musicals, plays, different kinds of performances as well, that will be able to be part of this community and to be on stages. I mean, the stage has, you can do anything in VR. So, we can create sets. We can, have stuff res on the stage. We can pull the curtains down and move it out manually. There's so many things we can do here that I don't think people realize. And we're trying to make that available for people, and they don't have to just be exclusive to us. There's a group called Lionheart. I don't know if you've ever heard of Lionheart. It's a play band, or I forget what they call that. They're air guitaring and, pretending and stuff. Now, sometimes they do some live as well, but it's like a performance band kind of group. And we built a venue that kind of works for that. So that's their home venue. And then we promote them. But they're not really our group. They're just a facet of it, and we provided an environment which works for them. And so that's the kind of thing we do too. And we built an open mic world, and we just gave it to the community. We said anybody can use this at any time, and it has a whole system built in. So the instance owner becomes in charge of everything, and so they can run an entire open mic all by themselves, or with their group or whatever, and they can make anybody a host. They can control the whole entire thing. There's security in place for them. There's all these things that we've tried to do, and then we put up our posters for our shows so we can advertise, and that's used pretty regularly. They have open mics in it pretty regularly, different groups. What was I gonna say? So we do. I mean, we don't host the open mic, but we created the world for others to host in it. So it's that kind of thing. Now, if we can get more volunteers that want to do that under the name of virtual performing, we would love that, and they can host a virtual performing open mic, and they can have theater performances, and, we can really do a lot more than we're doing. But, money and time are an issue, so I have to kind of balance. But if people want to do it, then obviously we can do that and we can promote it.
So I have another question for you as well on the lines of the events you run here in Vrchat. What were the first events in Vrchat like, and how have they evolved over time? Did you do anything different as you learned? What were they like?
The first ones were pretty straightforward singing, just singing with tracks. And it was me by myself at first, and then as we grew a little bit, and I was able to meet some really great performers, like what's that Fox boy on the internet guy? I forget his name.
TFM John?
No. He sings, I love a fox boy on the internet. I don't remember his name. What is his name? He's a fox, and he's a performer in Vrchat. He's really, really good too. He was part of Virality, and he was one of our biggest that came at first, and I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, I have bad memory. But he came, and then I brought in a couple other big names that sang at Virality. I tended, when I first came back to Vrchat, I was actually in the furry community. I had a furry avatar, and I was hanging out with the furries all the time. And a lot of the musicians are furries, as a matter of fact. There's a furry group that spawned out of our virtual performing. It's called Virelium. Have you ever heard of Virelium? Yeah, Virelium, the guy who started that, who founded that, he came to Vrchat. I mean, to VR virtual performing, sorry. He came to virtual performing and loved what we were doing, and he wanted to know how we were doing it. So he joined our Discord server, and I said, well, we'll help you, And then he started advertising in our group, and now they've far surpassed us. I mean, they have these mega events. They're so active, and they have open mics. They're great. They're really great people. They are. But, I don't have that ability. That's not my wheelhouse. Like I said, I kind of have social anxiety. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't really I go to open mics, but only like certain ones, because I get really anxious when there's all this talking and everybody knows everybody else. And, I like the ones where there's a host and they keep the crowd kind of maintained in quiet for the most part, So I don't feel awkward in those kind of open mics. But anyway, so I forgot what the original question.
What were some of the earliest events like, and how have they evolved over time?
Gotcha. So yeah, we had a couple big names, and that drew lots more people. And then the word got out, and people were starting to ask me, well, what do you do here? And so I tried to explain it, and then we found a few artists that way. And then, but mostly it was just the singing events. And then a couple open mics I tried and things like that. But mostly they've now become the concert series. That's the main thing it evolved into, is just the concert series. And now we had plans to build an academy. Well, we did build an academy. Rave, the world builder, I think he's coming. I just invited him. Let me see if he's here. Yeah, he's here. He should be coming. Anyway, he's the world builder, and he built an academy for us because I said, one day our goal was to have teaching, like music lessons, dance lessons, singing, coaching, and things like that, instrumental music, whatever. And so I was a teacher in real life, so music teacher. So I wanted to kind of create a place where we could do that. And it's been built and it's beautiful. We can show you, but it's just not being used because I haven't been able to find somebody to run it, somebody that wants to kind of oversee that aspect. And I don't have time to do it myself. So, yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it's evolved. And yeah.
Okay.
I think she went to go get Rave. Yeah,
Yep.
there's Rave.
Oh.
Rave is the world builder, and he's also our one of our staff members that does backstage work, tech work, lighting design. He handles all the lighting and stuff.
Ooh.
And yeah, here he comes. This is Rave.
Oh, let me turn on your avatar so you're not a robot.
I had mine all cold because we went to shelter, so I had nobody rendering.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh.
We went to shelter last night.
Oh, nice.
Come sit down. There's space next to friend. Come sit down.
So this is Rave. He's the co-owner of Virtual Performing and handles all the world design and did this gorgeous, beautiful bar lobby thing and updated the whole theater. And he's working on another theater, as a matter of fact, too. We're actually going to have another one.
Oh, wow. So
yeah.
I'm going to ask you some of the similar questions we asked Djembe here. I'll ask you, what got you into Vrchat and what got you started with what you're known for, and what are you known for?
So I started in Vrchat about, it's been a little less than 2 years ago. And that was kind of my second journey into VR itself. I tried VR when it first came out. I'm a technology guy, so I like doing new technologies right away. And so when the original Oculus got released, I got one of those, and it was the most terrifying, stomach churning experience ever. And the technology just didn't match the headsets at that time. And so I just kind of put it on the back shelf and said, VR is maybe not a thing right now. Then when I met Djembe over in Second Life and became his manager for his concert events, started talking about, hey, have you been in VR? And told him, yeah, it's been a while since I tried it. And so I tried it again with the Quest 3 this time. And it was a dramatic experience change. And I was like, okay, the technology is finally kind of matched. And so I went down the rabbit hole and got an even better headset and got more, controllers and all the accessories that can come along with VR. So that's how I got back into it again. And then one thing I loved doing in other Metaverse worlds was building. So in Second Life, for example, I build a lot of different worlds. And so I was like, okay, I'll try building here. Can't be that much different. And so I was a little surprised. Had to learn Unity, had to learn some tools, but I picked up on those pretty quickly. And I said, you know what, this is pretty neat to build for. So I wanted to try to create those same world experiences I did in Second Life over here. And so we just started building worlds. We built our first one as an academy. And that's when I wasn't a co-owner at that time. I was just kind of a member of the virtual performing group. And I said, what is it that we can do? What can I bring to the table? And I kind of saw everybody talking about, we want an academy. We want to teach people how to perform in VR. We want to teach them how to sing and dance and all that type of stuff. So secretly, I built a world. And then I said, hey, guys, come take a look at this
Surprise!
world. And that's where it kind of started. So we just built worlds after that.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
So I do have another question. How different is building worlds for VRChat versus Second Life?
So each pose their own challenge. Second Life is kind of you can build in real. So imagine that we're sitting here and I want to put a lamp on the table there.
Hmm.
I could just do that in Second Life.
Mhm.
We don't
Hmm.
have to be in an editor. We could do it in real time. And so you get that immediate feedback. You're there watching it. Granted, it's on a 2D screen versus a 3D environment, but you can kind of design and move things around that way. Here, it's a little more challenging because you got to have that concept in your mind. And so, unless you really sketch it out, and decide, okay, I want this to go here and this to go here. So, what I find the best way to do in VR and using Unity is find some assets that look similar to what you want to do and mash them up. And so that's kind of like, this is a great example, is this world is a mashup of 2 or 3 different, major assets, and I use that as the foundation. So I say, okay,
Mhm.
we want to have this nice little bar here, so I'm going to put this asset over here, and then we have the theater, so I'm going to put that asset over here, and then we want like the entrance, we're going to put that over here. And then I find a way to mesh and blend everything together.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of how I build in VR. But the tools are, Unity is actually a pretty unique tool. And I'm already starting to see VRChat expand out. So they're starting to pull things in from the because in VRChat and Unity for here, it's just the basic. So they have the HDRP and the SDRP in the other um, ways to build, and some games use those technologies, but VRChat uses the basic. But they're starting to pull some of those more advanced features into the basic version. And so we just got volumetric lighting not too long ago.
Hmm.
And so this world actually has volumetric lighting in it. So
Oh
Mhm.
wow.
it's kind of unique that, at least in VR, there's more potential. And so it might be
Mhm.
a little bit more trickier to build, but I think there's a lot more potential on what I can build here.
Mhm.
Oh wow. Well, thank you very much for explaining. I think that's pretty cool to hear the difference between the two. Does the Second Life have like a game engine that you build on, or is it like all like in application?
It's literally all in application. However, you could build. So another thing that we have in Second Life is we are co-owners of a store, and so he had a store in Second Life. He was building things, and then I had a store too. But I don't really. The way I build is a little bit different than the way he builds. So there are some tools that allow you to think of them as APIs, where I can use a real world object in the game and create other objects with it. Where another way of doing it is putting it in a program like Blender, creating meshes or creating your object there. For example, he might create a chair as a piece of furniture in Blender, and then he can import that into Second Life as a mesh object. And then all you really got to do is put textures and stuff on it at that point, and maybe animations and stuff in there. Um, but I saw an opportunity to say, you know what? Let's both use your Blender knowledge, my design knowledge, and we'll kind of get together as a partnership, and plus the design. I designed him a brand new store, so we got
Mhm.
this really cool store in Second Life now. Um, but yeah, so that there is no actual offline tool like
Hmm.
Unity and Second Life, but there are tools you can use to create
Hmm.
various things to import into Second Life.
Okay. Oh, I have another question for you as well. Um, bet- between the both of you, what has been some of your favorite memories or events that have happened through virtual performing, whether as someone who attended or staff and co-owners?
You know, The thing about VR chat, especially, is you never know what's going to happen. So a lot of the memories, the special memories, are created organically.
Mm.
It's just something that comes out of, we might plan. For instance, we do a Christmas world, and so at Christmas time, one of the things that Djembe here wanted me to do was help update the Christmas world to a kind of a more rustic, realistic, city-looking theme, and so um, we created that world and then had a big event. So we invited a bunch of people over from different various seating groups, and so I think the event was maybe 5 hours long in total.
Mm-hmm.
But those type of events just spawn all these different. So the way I do a world is it's not just. Some people like to kind of force everybody into one space. For example, I was talking when I came in that we went to Shelter. It's kind of an online dance club in VR chat, very popular. Um,
Mm.
but they make everything small. In other words, the world's big, but where they want everybody is in one place, and that place is really, really small. And so you got 100 avatars crammed into basically a container box. And the way I designed our Christmas world was we wanted to give places where you don't have to be in that one spot, right? You can go watch a concert, but you can go in a back alley and you can go find a little place to sit near a cafe, for instance. We even put a little gimmick joke in there. We put a little midnight munchies gas station. So
Mm-hmm.
we try to incorporate other groups in there and parts of what they do in their worlds in our world. But the that's what creates those memorable events because I walked around and I could see some people were watching the performer on stage, some people were back having side conversations at the gas station, some people were just off doing their own things. So
Mm.
those type of things, interacting and watching what people do and how they use your world is what I enjoy. That's the
Mm.
memorable stuff for me.
Cool.
I was going to say one of the things that he made me think of just now is that we try to promote other groups, especially singing groups, because like I said, when I first came over here, I didn't even know that existed. It took me a while to even find it
Mm.
because everything was done in Discord groups, and then now VR Chat has finally started to do groups, right? And I started our group right away. The very first day it was even possible, I had our first group, and it's called Live Music Events. And I called it that because I didn't want to call it our venue, virtual performing, because I wanted it to be a group that was going to promote all live music events,
Mm.
just all kinds. If it was live music, I wanted to promote it, and I wanted people to want to join a group where they knew they could find out about all kinds of things, not just my events, but other people's events too. And then we started our Discord server too. Well, I had that before the in-world group, but those in-world groups were a huge change for VR chat, and I'm really glad they happened. And now with the next level, they're making this event calendar. I don't know if you're
Mm.
aware yet, but yeah, the
We
event
use it.
calendar, huge. That is a
Mm.
huge, big deal because that's what was lacking. I mean, I came over here and I was like, well, how do I advertise? How am I supposed to tell people I'm having a concert? I don't know anyone, right? So it was really hard for me. I mean, I would go to the Ferality worlds and stuff and tell people I'm a singer and I'm going to do a show, and they would go, oh, neat, I'll come. You should invite me. And then two or three would show up, and you
Mm.
just never really got people. So, now it's changing, that's evolving, and of course the in-world currency is helping some, and really more, it's helping more content creators, I think, than musicians being tipped, but still it's getting there. It's really getting there, and that's what I'm really excited about in the progress of what's happening. And sure, we still have our outside Discord group for obvious reasons. It's much quicker and easier to communicate with people and find people through Discord than it is in VR chat. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about the future and the potential that's here. And as I mentioned, we're making another world. And that one is going to be a little more intimate style venue. and still be fully functional, just like this one. And we're happy to show you, by the way, anything, how it works and what we do in the different worlds and stuff. And we did, now the original concept, and this really has never happened, but the original concept was that this world would be available for anybody who was a contributor of a certain level. I think it was $15 a month. And if they were a contributor at that level, they would automatically get the staff tag and then automatically have access to everything in this world. And they could use this theater however they wanted to. They could have a concert here. They could, and the idea was to be like a real life theater. Like you go to a real life Broadway theater and you rent it and you put on your production, right? And then you have staff that work for you. And we were going to do that here. We were going to have, if you had that particular level or contribution, you could use the theater and we would get staff to help you and do the whole production and even, add things if we needed to for different various things, for plays or whatever. And that was the original concept. But the thing, it didn't work so much here because there's just so many opportunities to create your own world. And I found that like these big long events that happen like all weekend and they have multiple performers back to back, they tend to want to build a brand new world for every single one of them. They want that fresh feel every single time. And, I get it. There's that appeal because it's just so easy, it's so cheap and so easy to do. So it's an appealing thing. So we've refreshed this place and that has attracted a lot more attention and that's really great. So we're going to, keep doing this world for a while and then we're going to finish the other world and then that'll drag, that freshness again will bring more people, I think. So it's hard though, because we want to still have that grasp of reality, so to speak. We're trying to keep that performer on stage, audience sitting and watching, feeling, and we just can't make new theaters every week, that would be crazy. So anyway, sorry about, I just wanted to add that.
Oh, it's all good. So what is some of your favorite memories from virtual performing? Ask.
I really enjoyed the two guys that performed, what was their names? Remember those two guys that were...
Yeah, I always want to say it's all of us.
Two of us or...
Two of us, something.
I'm terrible with names. And then the Fox, what was his... I'm in love with a Fox boy on the internet. Remember him?
Uh-huh.
I forget his name
I am
too.
terrible on names too.
Whispers!
Whispers.
Oh,
Whispers. Yeah. You probably have heard of Whispers, I figured. Fabulous artist. So talented. And then we have this guy you probably never heard of. His name is Jimmy Nutblast. And he writes all his own music. Everything he does, he writes. And he performs live with a guitar and a loop pedal. Everything is done live, 100%. It's just amazing what he can do. He's so talented, and he actually has stuff on Spotify and, trying to make an album to sell in real life. And, that level is where we try to go. And yeah, so we've had several artists like that, and there's some other names in Vrchat that you probably would recognize, but I can't remember them all. But, and we're trying to find more. We're trying to get more unique talent. We're bringing some artists from Second Life over here. Now, next Saturday the 13th, we have a girl named Starheart.
Yeah,
we're
familiar with Starheart.
Yeah,
okay. We've interviewed Starheart before. He's a wonderful lead.
Terrific. Good, excellent. They're going to be here on the 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then the 2 weeks later, I think it's the 27th or 20, yeah, something like that. We have this guy coming from Second Life, and he also writes his own. Well, he does covers, but he writes his own tracks, and he uses a MIDI sequencer, and so everything is being performed basically. So it's the computer, he has it all programmed, and then he takes out what he plays. Like he'll play keyboard on a song, he'll play guitar on a song, he'll play flute. He's amazing, fairly talented guy, and then he sings And so he's from Second Life, and he got into VR because of me. He's like, oh, this is really cool. I want to learn this. And so he bought a Quest, and he doesn't perform in VR because he has to be able to see his keyboard and his, computer and his guitars and all that, because he switches back and forth rapidly. But so he does second, sort of Second Life style. He'll use a 2D character, which I created for him, and it has a keyboard animation, and then it has a guitar and a guitar animation. So he does that and changes it throughout the show. But really talented guy. He's going to be here.
wow.
We've brought others from Second Life that are really top performers. This one girl, Evie was her name. Just incredible vocals. She sings like tear your heart out, that kind of thing. So we love to do that. We love to cross over some. There was a really awesome rocker named Winter. He's popular in Second Life. He came over here and everybody was like, you got to bring him back. He's so good, So I'm trying to bring him back. But that's kind of like what we do. And then we'll find people when we go to the open mics. We still find new people, and it's like, oh, ooh, did you hear that? Let's go talk to them, And so we do that as well. And then, it's always open if people are watching this, for instance, and they are performers, they can always join the VP group. And there's posting places where they can post about their events. They can post whatever they want. They can say, hey, I'm a singer and this is my music, and post it on our Discord server. We encourage that kind of advertising. For other groups, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be our group. And then we find them that way. We'll go to their SoundCloud or whatever and say, ooh, listen to that. They're really good. So we've found a few people that way. We're very connected with Metronome Bar, which is a big Russian community, and they have a huge following, and they've got some wonderful performers as well. So I've met some there. And they come and they support our events, even though it's like 2:00 in the morning for them. It's crazy. But yeah, we get a good following from there as well. And Midnight Munchies, you may have heard him mention, that's an open mic, and it's right now it's on a hiatus because the guy who hosts it is having some health issues. But that's where we get a lot of attention too, because he's a really good promoter and he does a good live stream and. Yeah.
Okay.
We have the posters. I forgot to tell you, we have posters in all the worlds. You probably saw some of them as you came in. They're in the open mic world. All these people, we don't ask them to pay anything. They're not sponsors or anything. Now, some of them are sponsors just because they want to be, but we want to promote those groups. If there's a live performing group, please let me know. We'll put the poster up. That's what we like to do.
That group, by the way, the name is Seen It.
Seen It.
That's it. Seen It.
Yeah.
They
and what
are
was very
so good.
Well, yeah, and it was so memorable because when we think of breaking the veil, right? So we're in this VR world, but breaking the veil would be like lifting your headset up, like I was doing trying to find that name. But they break the veil a little bit because what was unique about that performance is they're in their VR gear, they're on our stage in their avatar form, but behind in video form we actually have their live image. So they were feeding us a live image of them actually performing in real life, behind them performing in VR. So that was kind of a unique experience. We had a lot of positive feedback on that. There just isn't too many groups that do that live video, putting their real life into the actual VR world as they're doing the VR. So Seen It is great. If you get a chance, they like to do that. They do that for a lot of other venues as well.
Yep.
So
very talented.
Since we're on the topic of talking about worlds and stuff, I did mention earlier, off camera, off stream, not stream, but off recording, that it would be cool if since we have the world creator as well as the host here, it would be cool to look around the world because the world is so big. There's like a theater here. There's like the entrance, and then of course there's a nice bar. So it'd be nice to at least walk and talk a little bit while
Yeah.
we explore your creation. And yeah, Lion can obviously ask you more questions as we explore the world. And a reminder to you, Lion, to turn on your smoothing for your camera while we
Yep.
explore.
Ooh, no
That would
problem
be
with
So
that.
where
awesome.
would be the best place for all of us to start? We should ask the world creator.
Yes,
Well,
definitely.
maybe logically, let's pretend like we're all going to watch a concert. So maybe we all start in the front, where everybody would drop in and gather.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jabal?
Degenerates. E-boys, e-girls, furries, you know who you are. But you don't know who we are, do you? We're First Class Coffin, the premier goth rock band in VR. Check it out. There's that on our YouTube channel. We got merch. We have what you need.
FirstClassCoffin.RIP.
That's as real as a Hot Topic pair of trip pants for $80.
Your mom's a hot topic.
For those who would know, bean size.
Nice.
Hello.
Oh.
So yes, this is where we would we actually set the spawn point. Now we had a little debate here. We were kind of this is one of those design choices of one of the things that I notice that's different. You asked about, Second Life, for example, a 2D world versus a 3D world, some of the differences. And in Second Life, I find out that you want to spawn people right at your event.
Yeah.
Don't spawn them halfway around the world because they probably won't end up at your event. They're going to go wander off. This is more contained. There is constraints in Unity. You can't walk through that wall, for instance. Well, you could if you were a bad designer, I guess. But they're going to eventually get to the point of where you want them to get to, right? And so we were debating, where do we drop people? And we decided we still want to give opportunities. If we're going to go see a real show, you might want to go to the little garden in front of the theater and check out the fountains and maybe have a little conversation, be romantic. So if you want to come up this way, we'll show you kind of that intention here was we come up here, and what catches your eye right away is what's off to the sides. And so you're like, okay, cool. I know there's a theater here. I can see who's performing tonight, who's coming up again. But then you might be drawn to come over to, and there's Starheart right here. Yes.
Ooh.
It's Saturday.
A friend.
A friend. Also, for those who have been, since this is going to be in the released in the future, past the event, let us know what you thought of the event if you attended.
Nice. I forgot it's coming out in October, you said?
Yep.
Something like
So
that?
this will be released in October. I'm just we're recording it early because I'll be at the time near end of the month. I'll be going to a different state to see my aunt and uncle, and so I won't be available.
Nice. Cool.
Hey, what shader you use for that? That looks really cool.
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that. One of the things that the concepts I had to learn here in VR chat is shaders. So everything is done with shaders. In Second Life, everything's done with textures. So shader is not a thing. And shader, what was confusing to me is I think, okay, shader equals texture, right? Well, that's not necessarily true. In Unity and VR, shaders can do much more things. They can control scene lighting. They can control special effects. Fireworks are shaders. You can have shaders that create wind. We have some worlds that have wind blowing through the world. So what I do is I kind of in developing a collection of shaders. And this was a fountain that actually Djembe saw. And he was like, this is cool. We should get it. And I wasn't even looking at the shader right away. I just looked at the fountain and said, the fountain looks really good. But turns out the shader is one of the best water shaders I ever seen. Now you're seeing it at nighttime, which is kind of a little harder because it makes the pool look darker. But if you could see this actual shader in the daytime, it's a pretty cool water shader. It's very, very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. Oh. So with the front gate design choice, like what you have here with the opening, what made you want to choose it to be that way? Like when you walk up, it opens up like that. You have the virtual performing and the. What was the design choice of
Well,
that?
see, yeah, the concept here was I wanted to give it something a little modern looking. We didn't want to go completely over the top because one of the challenges is his original theater is a very beautiful theater, but it's kind of like that Broadway style. It's that maybe 1930s, 1940s kind of feel. And so it's like, how do I keep that without losing that aspect, but still be able to incorporate something newer? So I just took my hometown here and I went, okay, we have a 1940s theater and they've redone that thing probably 20 times. And so I used the same concept of saying it wouldn't be any different than building a building in front of the theater. So that's the way I conceptually see this is there's still a theater that existed sometime, but this is a new building that was built in front of that theater and it connects to that theater. So what I wanted to do on the entrance was really give that person coming to the theater kind of that VIP feel, right? Like the doors are going to open for you. These are things that I think VRChat are missing a little bit. And it's mainly a Unity bound thing, but we may get there someday. But I'd love to have, like, we call them smart bots in Second Life. But they're basically just kind of a very intelligent avatar there that could do things like, hi, welcome to the theater, and actually animate opening the door. So those are things that, since they don't quite exist today, we're trying to invent some of that with our new theater. But that's the concept: is the doors are being opened for you. You see this really now a whole nother view, and it draws you in. The first thing is that light off that wall, so you're like, oh, I want to go see what that is.
Let's go see what that is. Let's move further in. That is the light at the back wall that reflects off the floor is one of the first things I noticed when going into the world. It's a very eye-catching thing. Ooh.
Oh, and this painting is actually done by a friend of mine.
Oh wow!
Who lives in Ukraine? He painted that in real life, and then he scans his artwork, and he sells it in Second Life.
Oh wow!
But anyway, he helps us with poster design. He does our posters, and so I put up his artwork.
Oh wow!
And so yeah,
it's wonderful art, by the way. Now, is this interior based on any place in particular, or was this something you guys came up with on your own?
It was an asset, right? It was pretty much an asset, but we completely redid it and added things, and like these letterings, I made these in Blender. Letterings on the outside front. We changed. He's really the main designer, but some elements are homemade that we've added, and then some are from assets he's purchased or, we've collected as we've done a lot of these builds.
Okay.
And then we put up our staff members over there.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in using other people's assets as a base, right? They put it up for sale. They want you to use it, right? They put their time and work in creating something. So I'm not only supporting them, they're making money off me buying their asset, but then I'm furthering expanding theirs out. So we get people, we give world credits to just about anything we put in the world. And so if somebody says, hey, that lounge is amazing. Was that something you guys built? I can say no. It's actually, if you look on the world credits here, it's actually built by this designer, and you can actually own that lounge if you want. So, it's part of like the music community. We want to promote all these other groups. We want to also promote as a designer, me as a designer, I want to promote other designers too. But I do like to change. I do say, okay, you created a nice foundation. I want to take it up that next level, right? Like the reflection you saw coming in, like wow, that's eye catching. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. Is they're more of the painter's background. You know, we got the sky painted, we got the ground painted. That's how we start, and then I fill in all the little details there.
So I do have one question for the both of you, since both of you work with Blender and Unity. What is some of the hardest things you've done with Unity and Blender, and how did you overcome that issue?
Oh, I could tell you about the Unity, and he can probably tell you a good Blender story, because I'm not really good in Blender. I tried to learn Blender for 2 weeks, and I was like, no, this is like a 2-year learning curve to get into. But at least Unity, there's so much resource out there to self-learn. I was really able to teach myself it quick. But one of the biggest challenges that I had was in that first build I did. I was talking about that virtual performing academy that I created. So one of the things after I showed it off to everybody and said, "Surprise, we have a new world," or a second world. At that point, we didn't have a second world. Then I solicited all of our staff's feedback. What do you guys want in here? What do you want me to change? What do you want me to add? And one of the first things Djembe said was, wouldn't it be cool if we had a listening station, right? So people could come into the academy, put on some headphones, go over, grab a record off a shelf, put it on a record player, and actually listen to the next artist about to perform. I was like, okay, that sounds pretty simple-ish. I can figure out how to do that. And there were a couple assets there for the record player, for the album. But then you want to take it up another step. What if the sound actually comes through the earphones themselves? I'm like, you're asking me to create an actual working headphone in a 3D VR world. And there's no asset for that I can just go buy off the shelf. And further, we added stuff. I mean, it just kind of like a little more layer after layer of realism got added to that. So eventually you could resize the headphones. You could change the color on the headphones. You could do all these type of things with it. I got through it. I did after a little frustration and a couple weeks of screaming. I was able to get it done, and we did create probably one of the first working headphones in Vrchat that actually does that.
It was kind of
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, and I similarly have stories, but yeah, I mean, I started from Second Life, as I said, and I had a store for many years. So I've had Blender experience for probably 10 years now. But it took me 5 years before I really had a grasp of Blender, and I still learn things every day, and I still have to go back and watch tutorials sometimes because it's just so hard. But yeah, so I built mostly furniture and trees and things like that in Second Life, and they were pretty easy because there wasn't any kind of craziness to them. But then we came here, and Unity I had to learn just like him, and that was a challenge. Now I had some scripting experience in Second Life, so I have concepts of scripting, and I was able to use some of the scripting tools in here to do some basic things. But a lot of it was beyond my comprehension, so I had to get a scripter. We hired someone to script all of everything in the theater so that it's all in one particular control panel, and you can carry it with you, and we can show you all that. But we had to hire somebody to do that because it's way beyond my scope. But in terms of Blender, I've learned so much, especially about avatars and how, like, these are actually from Sims, Sims avatars that I brought into Blender and edited, added blend shapes, and had to learn how to do all that kind of stuff, and it was a challenge. But yeah.
Those are Sims avatars. They honestly look really good, by the way. Very
Thank
realistic.
you.
We it's kind of that joke that I hear a lot when I'm out and about in the different worlds in VR chat is I'll hear people say, "Why are you a human?" They say that all the time. With all the different possibilities
Yeah.
there are, it's like, why would you choose human in VR? And I think it's just cool because to me, it's an extension of the real life. I'm sitting in
Mhm.
VR now as my real life self, and yeah, it's kind of fun with the fantasy. I mean, who doesn't like to put on a good outfit, have some ears, right? Or a tail. Sometimes
Mhm.
I like to be a secret furry, but those are
Mm.
just escapisms for people, right? But when it comes to
Mhm.
what we're trying to follow that whole realism. So that's why we kind of like to have the human avatars here and make you feel like you're walking into a real world theater. But
Mm.
there will be
Mhm.
plans. We do. This is I'll give a little secret up front here. A little what do they call that? Uh,
Teaser.
teaser is a better word for it. But at some point, we have talked about doing some futuristic world. So we're going to go completely out of the ordinary of realism and create something very unreal.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Well, that's super exciting.
Wow.
Ooh.
I don't know when we'll get that done, but yes, we have talked about. That's one of the things I get as feedback as a designer is, why don't you do this type of a world, or why don't you do this type of a world? And I'm like, I would love to really do that. And so we just have goals that we have set that we want to get progressively done, but we're at the point where I think we can do some really crazy out there world next.
Mm. Shall we continue on?
Let's
Mhm.
continue on.
What's that? Whoa.
These are some of the people we promote. That
Yeah, so in every world we have, we usually and we I don't know why we choose hallways. Maybe that's just conceptually my design choice, but um, we advertise the different various groups or events going
Mm.
on, and so that's what we're trying to do here as you're coming into the main theater, is to kind of get that. Hey, these are people that you should visit. They're not necessarily sponsors, but we're willing to put anybody's ad up in here and switch them out from
Mm.
time to time. But
Ooh.
it gives people, it's just that giving back to the whole music community was the theme here. But anyways, we come in here and you get into I
Oh.
call this the benefactor room. Or benefactor hall is what I call it. And really, it's because this is the place to celebrate everybody that supports us, and it's also the main hub to get to
Ah.
everything else in the world. And so right away you see, well, there's only 6 right here because these are our big time benefactors. So these are ones that have contributed either time, money, resources at very high levels. And so we want to celebrate them up front and very prominent and down in people's faces. And this could expand as we get more benefactors. But also, it's not just about big money, right? That helps to create these nice worlds. But we also have just our VIP sponsors as well here, and we celebrate that on this wall. And this is anything from $2 to $50 a month. So if they just spend $2 a month, they're going to get their name up on the wall here too. So we wanted to make this room inclusive of everybody. Now, one of the cool things too, I don't know if he said this earlier when you were interviewing him, is, VR chat puts a lot of things behind paywall, right?
Mm.
Like, hey, you can come to our cool place, but to get into that room, you got to be a sponsor. This build or the rebuild we done of the theater here, we came to a decision that we're not going to do that anymore. So, for
Mhm.
instance, that lounge was going to be, you had to be a paid Patreon to get in that lounge. We decided to do it the opposite way now. We're going to give everybody access to all of our VIP features. I wouldn't say all. There is one reserved for paying members, and that's still the use of the theater on their own time.
Mhm.
with our staff. You still have to be a paid member for that. But everything else is not going to be behind any paywall. So I like that design choice better because, the world is complicated and it's tough for some people, and $2 might be something they can't even afford. And so we want to provide that to everybody. We want to give them the same experience as a $1,000 paying member as a $2 paying member.
Ooh. I will say this is a very eye-catching room when you look around. I can see why you'd want this to be the center room. It really forces you to look around a little bit. It's a very good color palette.
Thank you. Yes. Color has a lot to do, and you can tell a story with color. And so when we go into the main theater here, this was kind of a, as a designer, and then as somebody that is, I would call it the client, right? Even though we're co-owners, he's still a client, right? I'm still making something. And you do have creative differences sometimes, and a lot of it, what you're going to see in the next thing, was about color. How do we get the color to satisfy everybody's desire? And so color is a big thing, and it really does. It's not as simple as throwing a texture up and saying, "Oh, well, everybody's going to have to deal with that," right? Sometimes you really got to spend, and we probably spent 10 hours picking colors in the next room. So, and you'll see how it pays off. You'll see how the more that you actually think about these things, the more they work together and they make sense.
So we go into the theater?
So, yeah, let's go into the theater.
Oh. Very grand.
Oh.
Ooh.
So one of the concepts I wanted to do in here is we did not want to, or I personally as the designer, redesigning or refreshing this, is I didn't want to change the original actual building, how it's laid out. So that would be the stage, the seats, the balconies. So there are 2 levels of balconies. None of that changed. It all stayed the same design-wise. What we did change, and what you would imagine any theater that's being updated would change, is colors. And we do that through some of the wallpaper textures. Sometimes they may change the seat colors or the floor, the carpet colors in a theater. I kept these original. So these were red. We stayed with red as far as the carpet and the seats go. But I thought what I could do is enhance that. So I can enhance it through the use of the wallpaper and through the use of colors. So it's hard to tell, but there is colors around the outside with these lamps. They used to be a white, and so I brought in a lot of like warm tone colors that are being highlighted and reflected. And you can see it sometimes off some of the reflections in the balconies from where we're standing too. So it pulls some of that colors off of that. And because we use that volumetric lighting that you can now use here, you get this really cool effect of blending everything together. And then, of course, the only other thing that I did add, so I added to this original theater a little bit, and that was the columns. So these columns, you guys would have saw inside the lounge that we were in earlier. And that lounge, I just liked the columns, and he liked the columns. And so I was like, you know what? We're going to put those columns in the theater as well, and we're going to tie the different areas together.
Oh, the columns work out
I
very well.
really like the way you did the chandelier.
The chandelier too. I'm glad you pointed that out. It can get, a lot of people don't look up, right? But yes, that chandelier actually does also come from that little lounge area. We used to have different chandeliers in here, and they weren't as grand. They were just kind of like they were a nice chandelier, but very simple chandelier. And I was like, you know what? We could probably bring a more grand chandelier in here. Even though people don't look up that much, when you do, you're kind of like, that really just ties it together. And we got a little nice side effect because there was more intricate details in the chandelier. I was able to shine light through there and create shadows on the ceiling that didn't exist before.
Ooh, they look really good.
So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the functionality of everything that we have in here. These posters are actually links. You can actually just click on them, and they bring up an input link for our live stream tipping link. So people can copy and paste it. So that's how we get people to hopefully tip, but we haven't got a whole lot that way. But you know, that's all they have to do is click that, or scan the QR code. And what we've done, because we've seen other very successful groups that are they're very well, they live stream and they get lots of tips, and they promote all the tippers. Like when they tip, they say, "Oh, look at somebody tipped, yay!" Whatever. Well, we can't really do that in the middle of a concert because there's somebody performing on stage, and so we don't want to be rude. So what we've chose to do is we changed the theater. The architecture of this theater, the proscenium arch, which is the top part, which has the filigree patterns on it, that's actually a video screen, and it has a default texture on it. And then so what we do is our live stream has that exact same pattern, and we put it on this thing. And so when someone tips through the Streamlabs, it creates this effect, and red lines go up the sides of the theater, and that whole top part will display the tipper's name and how much they've tipped, and then the top tipper and all that kind of stuff. And that's built right in. So you don't know it's there until somebody tips. And then when they tip, we drop balloons all over from the top of the ceiling. So that way people know. And then there's another one on the back wall up at the very top as well. And the performer can see that one. So when they're on stage and they see that lights up, then they can say, "Hey, thank you for your tip," So that's one thing that we've done in here.
Are you enjoying the episode you're watching so far? Then feel free to check out the rest of the stuff we have over here in the Metaverse Degen network. We have other interviews from everyone from Vrchat staff to Vrchat and PJKT. We talked with world builders and creators. So if you want to learn more about VR and Vrchat, check it out. Also, we have a actual play podcast, Hold My L, which honestly we're just a bunch of idiots rolling dice. So if you like that kind of thing, feel free to come hang out with us over there. And if you should find any of their socials and stuff, you can go on metaversedegen.card.co. Over on Patreon, we actually started putting the pre-show content for Hold My L, which we talk about before the show, and as we all kind of start funneling into the world, getting ready. So if you want to go see that as well, feel free to go to our Patreon, which if a few people already subscribed, we'd like to give a special thanks to Frozen, Future Oracle, Aliquum, Niche, and Forbidden Zero. Thank you very much. Funny little hint, Forbidden Zero is also the DM.
What other, when he says that, the challenge we face here is we're trying, we're bringing artists in, so when you think of a concert, you think of, okay, everybody's going to sit down. There's going to be a pre-show. There's going to be when the event starts, everybody's going to be quiet, right? They're going to direct that attention to the stage, and the performer's going to give a show. And so it follows a very predictive pattern. Everybody knows this that goes to Broadway shows. But concerts are different, right? Concerts are a little bit different because you get the audience to get up and dance, and they interact a little bit. And they'll do that here. So we'll get performers where people will just go crazy in their seat. Or one of the cool things I see people do is Vrchat introduced that instant Polaroid camera feature now. You can print out an actual photo. And so they'll take a picture of the performer on stage or somebody crazy doing something in the audience, and they'll make a wall of photos across the front of our stage during the show. And so after the show, it's kind of cool because you can go watch all the different photos that people taken. But the challenge we always face is we don't charge an admission like a real concert would, right? Like you would buy your $20 ticket and then go in and see your concert. So we rely on the donations and the Patreons to do this. And that is a challenge because you don't want to interrupt the show. And so we have to come up with these very creative ways to still give recognition to that person that gives us $1 or gives us $10, and do it in a way that doesn't disrupt the performer too. So.
Yep.
Well, it's really
I'm
nice
gonna
of you
go
to do
give
that.
you. I'm gonna go give you access to the back, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh.
He's demoing a feature that we can actually do. Part of that system he was talking about is the ability to just improvise. So we will get a performer that will say, "Oh, one of my friends comes in and he plays a guitar and he wants to play in the background with me." And so we didn't pre-rehearse that, right? And we didn't have them on the access list. So our system allows us to instantly put anybody as a staff member or performer in the system. So what we can do now is he's giving you access. You can actually walk through that door down there that
Ooh.
normally nobody else would be able to go into.
It should be working, but I can't seem to get Lion. See if Lion can go through. You
Nope.
cannot. I don't know why it's not letting me put you as a.
Maybe
Let
I've
me
been
try
banned.
here.
Vrchat gods say no.
That's weird. For some reason, it's not letting me give you those permissions.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Oh.
Can you give him Lion?
Can I give him? How do I open the menu?
I gave him.
Oh.
I gave them to you. You should be able to get in.
See if you can get in. Nope.
Nope.
I
Well,
don't
let me
see
in there.
why it's not giving it to them. I got Asterix on there. I think Asterix can get in.
I don't. Oh.
Hello.
He went.
No, I don't know what's wrong with this.
I don't know.
It's broken. Maybe we have to make a new instance.
Oh.
Well, you know, this does point out a nice little difference of VR versus Second Life, for example. Second Life, you know when things are going to break, you know they're going to break right away, right? Because you put an object in world and you test it right away, and you know it's either going to work or it's not going to work. And one of the challenges we find here is, as they're upgrading these technologies and they roll out new features and they roll out another update, that some of the code is some of the code has been written, you know, a year ago, right? And so all of a sudden something breaks and then we have to go chase it down. So more than just design, we're constantly fixing code bugs.
Yes.
But this is a new one for me because I literally have you
can't give it to Lion.
as host, but it will not add you.
The Vrchat gods don't agree. I should never go back there. They say no. You know. Oh well. We can always just.
We can make
move.
a new.
Well, we can just move on. It's no big deal. At least I don't think.
Okay.
We'll just have to say, if you wish to see the back yourself, you should sign up and come for yourself.
But we have things like we have reverb, so it echoes and it really makes a nice full sound in the theater. We can turn it off. Of course, the stage is amplified. And then we also have the ability to turn the voices down in the audience. So some performers like to have the interaction, some don't. So we, depends on how the performer wants it. We do have, there's really no real-time lights in this theater at all. We use the volumetric lighting. But we do have some effects that make it like there's almost like lights. Like we have these dimmers on the walls. That's supposed to be like pretending to dim the theater. And then we have a stage dimmer as well. And that is, again, it's just a fake effect. It's just a fake dimming effect. No lights. And then we have one for the entire world. So we can dim the entire world like that. So, and that's again done with trickery. No lights. So we try to, keep as low lag as possible. Here's the balloons I was talking about when the people tip. We drop balloons. It's just fun.
That is a lot of fun. Very colorful.
Yeah. And then we have confetti for the audience. And we just recently added snow, so we can make it snow. It's crazy.
The only problem with snow and Unity, so that once again, it's one of those like technologies. In Second Life, I can make snow so realistic. Like even in 2D, you're like, oh boy, it's like I want to go put on my coat. I feel cold already. But you come into Unity and it's like still kind of like got that Roblox feeling, that it's got that Minecraft blockish feeling.
We haven't.
There are some things that just are not as good in here, but we make do with it.
Okay.
And
So-
we have a sound thingy for like
Ooh.
applause, things like that, and some laughter and little things like that to make the performance a little more realistic. And as I said, we have a curtain, which I just put down for you, and then we do a pre-show announcement for every show.
Thank you.
So you can hear that from all over the entire build, so that way people, if they're in the lobby, will know, oh, the show's about to start, I better go in there. So we do that. We have 4 backdrops that we can change on the fly. We can actually put whatever we want on these backdrops, even during the show. So if a performer wants to advertise their stuff in the back while they're performing, we can do that. We've had performers that have picked out various AI pictures that will go with each song. Hello. You know, and they do it song based, and they try to make it you know, suit their songs or whatever. And we have different fire effects and things that we can set off, and we just kind of base it on what the performers want. You know, some want more than others. We have a instrumental kind of shell, and we even have a whole bunch of different animatronic creatures, people, creatures. We have animatronic people that we can create a little orchestra if we really wanted to. I have to go on stage to show you that, but. So I'm bringing out these people. And all of the props are integrated into this tablet, which you can't see, but I have in my hand. And we can set them up however we want. We can move them around this little gray box, and we can just grab it and move it. And then we can turn off the gray box so that it locks it in place, and that way it can't be moved by mistake. So we can have different setups, and then we can just turn them off. So, you know, we can turn them on, turn them off. So when the set changes, we can just do it on the fly really fast. But we can literally change it every single time. So it's kind of like what we were talking about before with Second Life, how you can have the lamp here, but then move it over here, you know, in live time. Well, that's kind of how we did these props. And we have lots of props. We have guitars, we have keyboards, we have a marimba, which I designed in Blender. We have a drum set, a bass guitar, a microphone stand, a piano, with a piano player, by the way. And so we can put a grand piano out here for if somebody's just doing a solo performance. So yeah, there's lots of that kind of stuff in here. And, you know, and we have a camera system with a camera control. I'm lagging out. Or am I lagging out? But yeah, we have a camera control. And Normira usually handles that. We do all kinds. That's Normira over there, by the way. She's one of our staff. And then, yeah, we have like this whole camera system, so we can have the live stream is all done through the live cameras. And if you're in desktop, you can press F10, and then your view is whatever the camera is showing. So, and it's manually controlled and manually operated, just like everything else. You can zoom in, zoom out, all that kind of stuff as well. So that's about it. We have a video player, of course. Some people use videos. We have an amazing lighting system that Brave installed that does all kinds of cool effects. And it's all, like I said, the volumetric lighting, so it's not real-time lighting. But, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for showing us. Shall we continue on to the next room?
Sounds good.
Sure.
Ooh.
So, you know, we thought now the concert's done, right? Okay, everybody's enjoyed themselves. We have our wall of pictures here. Everybody's kind of conversationally talking. We love to do a meet and greet, and so we love to have that performer come down and actually talk to our audience members. And a lot of our audience members are actually, some of them are from other groups, right? And maybe they have an event coming up and they want to say, hey, we'd like to have that artist over in our event too. And so that's their opportunity to talk to them and say, hey, let's exchange information. We would love to have you at our place as well. We also find new performers that way. So we'll get a performer that's performed at other places and they'll come here to a show and then they'll talk to us after the show. So we took it that next step up, the next level up of saying, okay, we wouldn't necessarily do it in the theater. So we ask everybody, let's go back out to the lobby and then everybody can go up to the lounge area. And that's where we have our meet and greets now, is up in the lounge area. And so we can walk up there and I'll show you that and tell you our concept up here.
Alrighty. Oh.
This is VIP. People who are Patreons for $3 or more, they can sit in the balconies, and there's an elevator for the third floor. But that's what these doors are for.
That is one of those things that I said we still give them just a little extra benefit. But since anybody can sit on the concert, the actual stage floor without paying, that's why we don't feel bad about putting this one behind a paywall.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, one of the things we wanted to do here was invite everybody to come talk to the performer in a more, kind of after hours lounge-ish feeling, more relaxed. And what I did is installed a nice little DJ setup here. And so one of the things that I do, and I've done this for many, many years, way too many years. I'm an actual real life DJ.
Oh, wow.
And I've done DJing in Second Life again. I started doing it again. I used to do it 20 years ago. Then I kind of quit doing it because it was like I like building more than, I wouldn't say more than DJing, but when I'm in Second Life, I like to build. But I got back into DJing again in Second Life, and Djembe convinced me, well, you should DJ in VR. Well, there's a whole set of challenges to DJing in VR because there are a couple types of DJs, and I'm not going to knock DJs. Anybody that wants to do that, it's a skill set you learn, right? And you have to start somewhere. But a lot of DJs will use programs that auto DJ. So they'll go out, they'll select a playlist, maybe on Spotify, and then the DJ system actually mixes the tracks for them. Now, as they learn their skills a little more, they can turn that auto mixing off and do it manually through a slider. But if you really DJ, kind of like I do, I'm a live performing DJ. So I can take songs, and a lot of times I'll play two songs at one time. I might use the vocals on one song and use the instrumentals from another song, and I'll make mashups and all types of crazy stuff going on. So what we wanted to do was incorporate my DJ into VR chat. So one of the things I do is I'll DJ these after meet and greets. So for a couple of hours, I'll get behind the DJ decks here. I'll actually DJ live using my live setup at home. It's pretty similar to this setup, actually. It's not too far off from that. But yeah, I'm literally in my VR headset. And I have to rely a lot on memory, where my hands go on each of those individual knobs, so that I don't mess up my performance. There are some tools that help, such as the XS overlay. I can actually put my actual DJ board, the software, up on a screen, so I can see what song's coming up or what I want to mix into or select my music that way. But that's the concept is shows done, come up here, they get a live DJ, they can talk to the performer. And we also, in this build here, have separate rooms. So we see people go grab a private room where we were doing the first interview as I came in with you guys. We can jump in a private room and have a little conversation away from everybody else. And so we want to give people options.
And that was what I mentioned earlier, that a lot of events in VRChat are extremely social and they want to talk, and they didn't understand coming to a concert and sitting quietly for an hour, So we're giving them the after the party, the after party is meant for that social time, and that opportunity to talk to the performer and say, hey, wow, you did a really good job. And, and the performers love it too, because then they can, hear the praise and, get that feedback. They get it in the performance because we use the automatic applause, the fake applause, and we use gestures. Obviously, people throw out those applause gestures and whatnot. But it's just different when you're able to talk to people and have that interaction. So that's what we do here. And he's a great DJ, so it's fun.
Oh, well, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask the last couple of questions before we wrap things up, if that's all right.
Sure.
Oh, the first
That's
one
good.
is the names used in VRChat. Where do they come from, and why do you still use them?
Mine is DjembeDragon. It used to be DjembeDragon Fire. That's what I use in Second Life. 2 words, djembe and dragonfire. Djembe is a drum. It's a type of hand drum that you play. It's an African drum. And I was a percussionist my whole life. I used to lead drumming circles for all these metaphysical places and stuff. And so I love djembe drums. And then I love dragons. I happen to be a big fan of dragons. And so dragon fire just came because, dragons have fire. But then I just cut it to DjembeDragon in VRChat because it was so much to type when you have to log in, and I was like, oh, forget it. So I was like, DjembeDragon, that's good enough.
Oh, what about you?
Yeah, so mine came from. I won't make it a very long story, but I told you before I'm that kind of technology guy, right? And like I always get into all these different technology things when they first came out. When we had the remember the Atari computer that came out, little tiny keyboard, but it was one of the first computers you could get on the market. And then of course you went to the Apple Macintosh, and then finally to what we all have today that runs these incredible VR headsets. But back then, what I would call invention of internet, right? The my username, I was just like, I'll call myself Rave Wolf Alpha Dog. I don't know where that came from. It just hit me. I'm like, okay, Rave Wolf Alpha Dog. And what I found out through the, how internet works and how games work, the name's really long. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is starting to become. There were some games that I'd sign up with and it'd say you're limited to 12 characters in your name, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can't even put my name in there anymore. So when Second Life came around, Second Life was unique when it started almost 19, 20 years ago. I think it is 20. They celebrated their 20-year anniversary. The names were selected from a list. You had to select a first name from a list and a second name from a list. And that's all the choices. You couldn't make your own name. And so I was like, okay, there is no Rave Wolf. There's no Alpha Dog. There's no Rave Dog, So the best I could get with was there was a Rave and there was a Wilder. And I thought, well, okay, I do like to DJ. I do like music. I do like raves. So why not Rave Wilder, right? Like it just kind of fit and took. And so once I took that name on, I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that in almost everything else because we want to try to do this crossover between. This is a hard bridge to gap. It's still going to be an ongoing challenge, but we're trying to get people from Second Life over into VR. Similarly, we're trying to get VR people to go into Second Life sometimes. And so keeping that consistent name of, hey, you know me here as Rave Wilder, but you also, if you're in Second Life, you can know me there as Rave Wilder. So that's where that name came from, and it just stuck. I just kind of keep it now for everything.
Okay. And the avatars we learned about earlier, the ones your avatars you're in, why do you use them? Why'd you choose them? Is there anything about them that means anything to you?
I wanted to be a human. I was, well, again, like he said earlier, it's more, we were trying to create that reality of a real concert, a real experience. And I needed a good avatar that, looked decent and still was a good rating. We wanted them to be good, and we try to keep people out of very poor avatars when they come because it does affect people's frame rates, and so it's hard. But so I created, I was like, well, I'm not a avatar creator from scratch, but I can take one and edit it. So I found these from The Sims, and I was like, oh yeah, I like this. This kind of looks like my Second Life guy, my avatar in Second Life. So I kind of tried to make it similar, and yeah. So I have like 50 of these avatars uploaded because I don't make multiple changes of clothes. Like, so every time I want to change clothes, I have to change the avatar because it's just easier to do that. And then it keeps it a good, it makes it real easy to keep it a good anyway. And so I helped him and I made him some too.
Right. Yeah, I got him to help me because it was once again keeping that concept of the reality as when we're in the theater, we want to portray a human in the theater to give that illusion once again. Not that we can't do and don't have plans for something out of this world coming up, but the other thing is it's constraint, right? Like I do have some really good avatars I love to wear, but they're always very poor. And even the good versions of that, some designers will create a good version. They're all different looks, right? And so the other thing is consistency for me. It's that if you
People
see
recognize
me
us.
in the theater, you know it's me. You know you're coming to, the performer knows I need something with lighting tech. I want to have a special effect done. They're going to be able to find me because I'm in this form here in this look.
Right.
If I'm in my other avatars, if we were in that other room, in the benefactor room, I have one of my favorite avatars on the wall there. It nowhere near looks like this avatar. So people would be running around trying to, are you Jeff? Are you Jeff? Where's
I have
Jeff
E-boy. I got lots of e-boy avatars. and furries. And then Normira usually uses this avatar.
Oh. Well,
yeah. So
thank you both very much for your time and allowing us to meet you and hear all about your journey and your ventures and your time here in Vrchat. So thank you very much. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
thank you. Thank you for having
thank
us.
you. You're welcome. And you guys are invited to. I'm pretty sure. I'm just guessing, but I think I saw you at one of the concerts. Was that true? Did you come to one of our concerts?
No, but my
No.
face was on one of the concerts.
Okay.
Oh, that's the one that one two-step raised the money for.
Okay. That's where I recognize it. So, well, since you haven't been to a concert, I invite you guys to come to one of our concerts because you'll really enjoy it. It's a really good time, and
Starheart.
that would be probably the most perfect concert for you to come see.
It's gonna be good.
And for those who are watching the stream and they wish to attend or find either of you guys, where can they go to find you and all your works?
So the best one is going to be our probably our VR chat group. It's live music events, and it could just be searched by live music events. And now that the calendar, so once you join the group, we do post all of our concerts on the calendar. And when you're in the group anyways, you're going to get alerted when there are upcoming events, especially I think they do a half-hour alert and then 5-minute alert. The other thing is we do have social medias, and they're linked off of that group profile. So, and I think also maybe in Djembe's actual profile and my profile as well. You can
Discord
actually get a
server.
link to our Discord servers and
It's in the group too. It's in the live music events group. There's a
yeah,
link.
all they really need to do is get here. Once they're here, they can get to all of our other groups from here.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's why I really say the live music events is probably a good starting place.
right. And then there's lots of worlds. We have a whole bunch. The karaoke world, the winter performing world, the academy. We're working on another theater. What did I miss?
The Lionheart, our
Lionheart,
concert hall.
right? I mentioned. Remember, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Lionheart's founder, by the way. I was telling them about Lionheart, and that's their founder.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Part
Oh.
of our staff as well. So yeah, we have that theater as well. It's more of a like a standing concert venue, like for rock bands and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I actually created that in London. There's a well-known club that was built inside a church. So there was a church that no longer existed, kind of shut down, or maybe they moved on to a different building. And some promoters bought the building and they made a club in there, and it's called Church. And so here's a nightclub in a church, and that was my concept for Lionheart. It's actually done in a kind of a medieval castle church. It's a really cool venue place.
Oh. Well, thank you both very much for your time, and all those links will be sure to put in the description for you, the audience member. If you go to YouTube and scroll down to video description, it'll be right in there. Guest links will be the same on this over down the free to click, all of them from both of their profiles to the group. And as well, if you want to look up their group a little faster, the short code is music.6803 as well. So for you to find, and if you're on Spotify, it'll be the same place in the episode description. You have to go somewhere a little different. With that being said, we'll ask you the audience member question, and that'd be, what is a time you've went to a concert or a music show that have stuck with you? What was it about? I'll give you my answer. A long time ago, but when I graduated high school, some friends of mine brought me to see Alice in Chains over at a concert. It was very memorable. Some funny moments happened there as well. So that being said, thank you for joining us. We will be happy to see you in the comment section and over the Metaverse. Have a good day, folks.